Alright, everyone, welcome to another time. Just a tutor. Set to the send the link to the class so they can all know we are live. Okay, welcome you guys all. It's another time to be here. So just send the link to the class. Okay, shift this back a bit. Awesome. I think I have. Yeah, I think it's better this way. Send the link to the class. So the link has been shared to the class. So let's just hope they will join us soon. So yesterday we spoke about psychology. We have been treating the course psychology. Actually, this is our 5th class, and we have been taking the course Introduction to Psychology. Awesome, we have someone with us already. So just gonna proceed. Okay, I think today we will continue with we'll continue from where we stopped yesterday. Yesterday we spoke learned. Okay, Mr. Iwuru says he will be with us soon. Okay, while we wait for others to join, we'll just talk about the solution to yesterday's assignment. An assignment was given yesterday, and we'll be talking about that before we go into the class. So what was the assignment all about? Please, if you are just joining us, do well to identify yourself and let us know your name. State your name as you join us, please. So yesterday we spoke about learning. We spoke we made mention of a lot of different definitions by different scholars about learning. Just like the one we really focused a lot on yesterday was the definition of Al-Sana. Yes, an impressive, more of like an holistic definition of what learning is. So we're able to establish the fact that learning is more than just knowing what you don't know before. There's more to learning than just that. So from yesterday's self-assessment, I'm trying to get the page so we can read out the question. And okay, now it says this first self-assessment from what we talked about yesterday. It says complete the following. Is on page 40, and it says Complete the following psychological statements in the spaces below. So it says, dash, at the end of every class, there are always self-assessments. And the reason why there are self-assessments at the end of every class is to assess if the student has been following. If it's to actually establish the fact that you have been following and been paying attention to the details and explanation. So the first self-assessment says, complete the following statements in spaces provided. Okay, so we have learning is dash, change in dash. That's the first one. So we have the second one. Learning is a C dash process. That's the second one. Okay, let me just put my phone on silent so that we don't get distracted. Phone on silent so we don't get distracted. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, do that quickly. So yeah, learning, you say, is dash, change in dash. Now, learning means change in function. This is from series of definition we spoke about yesterday, and this is just these are similar questions that you definitely come across in your exam. These are called some objective questions where you need to fill out the gaps. You understand? And some of them are not come with options. The ones that come with options are the one that has objectives, but the one that has no options, like maybe option A, option B, whereby you get the privilege of choosing from one, those ones are called objectives. But questions like this, they are actually called an objective, where you might not be able to attempt them if you have not actually in one way or the other come across the question, come across the statement, you understand, while reading your material. So it says, learning is dash, change in dash. That's the first one. Learning is a C dash process. And the third one says, learning is a D dash process. Now the first one says, learning is dash in dash, change in dash. Now to answer that question, learning is a means. Learning is a means. Okay, no, sorry, I think I'm mixing that up. Sorry. Learning means. Okay, but here it says learning is dash change. But basically, learning is actually a process. Learning is a process whereby change in function as a result of practice and experience. Learning is a process whereby there is change. Change in what? In function. Change in function as a result of what? Practice and experience. Experience does not just come by like that. Experience comes from past events. I don't know if you get that. Experience comes from past events. And the results of those past events, the knowledge gotten from it, the witnessing that you did now counts as an experience. So now, the combination of practice, without a practice, there might be no experience. In the sense that if an event never occurred, then there might be no experience gotten from that. You get the experience from the past events. And practice is what we're talking about. So learning now is the process whereby there is change in function as a result of practice and experience. Now, the second question said, learning is a C dash process. Learning is a central process. It's a central process, yes. Learning is a central process. In the sense that everything we do as human revolves around learning. You go out there every day, excuse me, you go out there every day, you see things, sometimes you come across new thing every day actually. You read new articles, news, you see new things every day actually. So learning is a central process. Let's explain that. Now, learning is the dash process. Now, learning is a dynamic process. That's what the third one. Learning is a dynamic process. So we have self-assessment 1 attended to. So we have, let's go to the second self-assessment now. Now, the second self-assessment in page 41 says, fill in the blanks in the statements below. Now, maturation denotes both a dash in the physical equipment of the dash, but more importantly, it is the dash in function and the capacity to dash through the use of this equipment. Now, maturation denotes both a change, to fill in that space, to fill in the blank. Maturation denotes both a change in physical equipment of the organism. Physical equipment of the organism. But more importantly, it is the change in function, and the capacity to dash, which is to perform through the use of this equipment. Now, maturation denotes both a change in the physical equipment of the organism, but more importantly, it is the change in function of the capacity to perform through the use of this equipment. So that sums it up. So we just move straight ahead to our study for today. So our study today is just trying to get to the page. I think that's in page 46. Yeah, unit 4 now. Page 46, unit 4. So we have in this unit, the introduction, we'll discuss some basic concepts in psychology. Some basic concepts in psychology will be discussed in this unit. The unit is also going to serve as an introduction to the course. This particular unit we are going to talk about in just a moment. Now, the concept of learning and maturation has been explained, and growth and development has been explained retrospectively. So you're about to know another interesting and practical concept in psychology. Now, the thing to consider in this unit will be 1, development psychology. Now, what is development psychology? Now, developmental psychology, development and developmental, they are the same thing. We can switch them. You understand? No two words are actually the same thing in English language, so that they might be similar, and you can use them interchangeably. So now you can use development and developmental psychology. You can use them interchangeably. It's permitted. So now, developmental psychology is a broad field of interest. It's a broad field of interest in which the physical, emotional, and intellectual characteristics and development of youngsters, children, from prenatal from prenatal stage onward are studied. Now, this developmental psychology, from from the way it's, from the way the name sounds, from the word developmental, it has to do with process of development, a process of formation process, a stage of formation. Now, let's not forget, psychology is a science that studies human behavior. Now, the study, can we now say then, the studying of human in its developmental stage. And this developmental stage, humans basically is referred to as a stage whereby the subject is a child. You know, a child is referred to as a youngster. The stage whereby the subject is a child, a youngster. So it's talking about the study of physical, emotional, and intellectual characteristics and development of this child. From what stage? From the prenatal stage and onwards. Now the keyword of this the keyword of developmental psychology is the study of youngster from, now okay, let me not scrap what are we studying in particular. Studying the physical, the emotional, and intellectual, and I think this makes up the personality of the youngster. So the personality of a youngster is being studied from the prenatal stage. That's what developmental psychology is all about. So we have educational psychology. An educational psychologist will use the subject. Now the subject we're talking about now is an human. Yeah, human. So now developmental psychologists will use the subject matter of psychology mainly to help children going through the educational system. Now, you should note also that educational psychology seeks to discover seeks to discover by studying the mental, physical, social, and emotional behavior of children and adults, the factors which influence the quality of learning. Now, could we then say that educational psychology has to do with the study of the mental, physical, social, and emotional behavior of children and adults? Children and adults, you understand, while in order to assist them in studying. Educational psychology is just about aiding the studying. How methods and approaches can be used by a psychologist to aid the studying of both children and adults. That is what educational psychology is all about. So we have that as that. So we move then to social psychology. From the word social, from the word social, I mean environment, influence of the environment, parents, you understand. So now social psychology is the study of social institutions and their impact on the behavior of individuals. The impact of social institutions. And what are social institutions? We have our school, we have our village, we have town meetings. We have a lot of things that has social institutions. School, playgrounds, a lot of things whereby anything that has to do with a place whereby people go and gather. People gather in groups and they communicate. Workplace, anything that has to do with social gathering, hospitals, a lot of things. So we have social psychology, the study of social institutions and their impact on behavior of individuals. Now, the effect or the effect of social influence on the behavior. Now, the study, now I'm trying to talk about the social psychology, studies the impact, the effect of social institution on the behavior of humans or individuals. So we have it concentrates on the external agencies which influence man. Social psychologists would be interested in the study of family, village, and role of the head teachers or effect of family background on achievement at school. Okay, so we have that as that. Now, self-assessment one. Would you say developmental psychology is a broad area of interest? Definitely, it's actually a broad area of interest. Now, it says, list any 4 areas that may generate research interest in social psychology. Definitely, family, village, school, anywhere social gatherings are, definitely we want to generate research because we want to know even family. I mean, family, the effect of the background of a family on a child. I mean, this could generate research for a social psychologist. I think we have that as that. So we move to the next one, which is psychological psychology. Now we have psychological psychology. Now, the domain of the psychological psychology is the examination of the biological basis of behavior. Biological best basis of behavior with practical reference to the biochemical reactions, underlying memory and learning, and the role of various portions of the brain in the regulation of such motives as hunger and thirst and such basis processes as sleep. Okay, now let me just simplify this. From the word psychological psychology. Psychology is the study of human behavior. Now, now we have sociological, I mean. Okay, now this domain of now this talks about the biological. It has to do with the brain, the biological, not basically the brain, but the gene, yeah, the DNA. There are a lot of things that comprises of biological basics of the behavior of the subjects. You know, the reactions of the biochemical chemical activities in the body. You know, reactions underlying the memory. All those things put together, how it affects the learning, the thinking, and how this person who is the subject behaves. So we have that as that. So we have clinical. The keyword is just biochemical reactions. So you have the clinical psychology. A clinical psychologist is someone who specializes in the treatment of those with behavioral problems and mental illness. From the word clinical, you don't want to go to the clinic if you are not feeling too well. You only get to go to the clinic when you're not feeling too well. So now, from the word clinical and psychology, so now it just has to do with psychologists who studies who attends to people who are ill and can have ill in the sense that mental illness precisely. Such people will have to receive specialized training, usually involve a further 3 years course of study. Okay, now because these people have special needs, so clinical just has to be psychologist that specializes in the treatment of people with behavioral problems, clinical behavioral problems and mental illness. So we have that as that. So we have the occupational health psychology. From the word occupational health, occupation means work. Exactly. Work health psychology focuses on work environment, on the individual and the work family interference. It's concerned the application of psychology to improve the quality of work life and to protect and promote the safety, health and well-being of workers. I think this is very, very precise and clear enough for the occupational health psychology. Mr. Jolas, are you with us now? Please do well to let us know if you are with us so we can know we are on the same page. So we have cardiac psychology. From the word cardiac, I think it has to do with heart, human heart. Okay, this studies the working of the heart. Okay, the heart, the cardiac structure of the transport system in higher animals and the center of emotions, especially love and the mind, that a person thinks or feels conscious thoughts of patients. Okay, now for the word cardiac has to do with the study, the working of the heart, and how the heart structure and the transport of system. Okay, we can say it's basically psychology should study the function, the workings of the heart from the word cardiac. So we have psychology of law. Both psychology and law deal generally on human behavior with reference to testimony. Psychology of law now talks about evidence, influence, crime, truancy, we have diligency, we have delinquency, and emotion. All this has to do with the law. Both psychology now and law deal generally. Law itself and psychology deals generally on human behavior with reference to testimony, evidence, influences, crime, truancy, delinquency, and emotion. Psychology has a great deal of offer any law enforcement agency, definitely. Psychology has a great deal to offer any law enforcement agency. Now, large or small, law enforcement officers and their management structure face a considerable variety of problems, many of which can be addressed by knowledgeable and skillful professional psychologists. Basically, all forensics, all professional forensic professionals, forensics in the sense that people that deal with crime, police, law agencies, all law agency personnel, they should actually be psychologists, because definitely they have to see things not on superficial. They have to do some basic investigation and looking deeper into occurrences. So we have that as that. It is important, to note that whether psychological service can be effective depends on the degree to which police managers accept understanding human behavior can further the goal of purpose of exactly. You understand? So that's just the use of psychology by law enforcement agency is very important. So we have community psychology. Community main thrust of community psychology is in the direction of family care programs and programs in child guidance and rehabilitation center. And that's the community psychology with the family care programs. Family care programs whereby families come together and parents actually come together and speak about family and child care and the likes, and child guidance and rehabilitation is where you go to probably have some emotional or mental breakdown. You have to go through some rehabilitation just for you to get back on your feet. And that for that, so we have forensic psychology. This interests me a lot, actually. This is the branch of psychology that will be of most interest to those studying this course. Exactly. Psychology, study human beings, and human beings are very unpredictable. So it has to do with a lot of forensic called psychology. It involves mainly the application of psychology to the area of crime and the legal system. Forensic psychology has to do with now the application of psychology to the area of crime and legal system. I think that's a key word. So note that forensic psychology is applicable in many other areas as well, but basically it's very, very important. It goes a long way when it's been applied in a legal system and anything that has to do with crime. So we have forensic psychology studies psychological damage, forensic examination, expert testimony in employment-related disputes, doomsday calls, secret societies, and brainwashing, madness, criminality, sexual predators, and laws, patient estimate pain, and so on. And child sexual abuse, all these things, forensics evaluates them all. So we have that as that. We have second self-assessment. Given our discussion so far, which area of psychology will you want to specialize in? Me, that would be forensic. And why do you prefer that specialty? Me, forensic, human beings are actually very unpredictable. Forensic, that's one way the community become a better person. That's one way I can foster the use of psychology. When I become a practitioner, apply all this psychological stuff and thereabouts in work environment and the likes, especially when it has to do with forensics. So we have that as that. So we have psychology of politics. Basically, this is that body of knowledge which lies somewhere between individual psychology and political science. Political science, just as social psychology, just as psychological and sociology. Psychology and sociology, it deals with the problem of control of human among groups. Okay, I don't know if you get that. Psychology of politics deals. Psychology of politics now says that. Okay, I think I missed that. Where exactly I was that? Okay, now deals with problems of control of human behavior among group. Does that mean that speaks about how human beings are to be managed? With the study of organization of people in conflicts, definitely. Managing people is the most difficult thing to do because everybody has his or her own way of doing things. Everybody wants to subject to be. Nobody wants anybody to rule over them. Everybody has their own how they want things to be done and everything. So managing of human beings is actually one of the most difficult things to do. So we have that now. Psychology of politics now deals with the study of organization of people in conflict. Okay, now let me I think I missed something there. Now deals with the problem of control. The problem of control of behavior among groups with the study of organization of people in conflict. Now, the study of controlling a group of people. The study of controlling a group of people and management of conflicts among group of people. That has to do with psychological politics. Such politician, okay, we have that as that. So we have feminist psychology. Feminist, from the word feminist, the branch of psychology is on how widely held feminist tenets, such as empowering individuals, valuing diversity, and creating dialogue, can be integrated across the study of psychology. Feminist, from the word, female, feminist, somebody like a woman who wants to be like a man, or who just wants to be everything all by herself. Feminists, like there was a day at the restaurant where I work. A lady, I was to get a payment from some customers, and the lady was like, "Why do you have to go to the guy? Why not come to me? What if I'm a feminist? I will have sued you for this." And I just smiled. Feminists are actually like that anyway. So we have disability and health psychology. Okay, disability, from the word disable, and health psychology. This studies the interplay between psychological and medical conditions. It introduces information on the nature of different types of disabilities and the ways in which durability specific factors such as age of onset, duration, and disability. Okay, now basically this just has to do with the psychology that tends to help people with health challenges, you understand, disabilities and health issues. Now, philosophical counseling. Unlike the approach of counseling psychology, the approach of philosophical psychology, the approach the approach of philosophical counseling is more open-ended and reflective. Open-ended in the sense that the subject is permitted to express his or herself, and reflective, meaning reflective in the sense that it's actually interactive and comprehensible. There are no fixed ideas or goals. Exactly. Use flexibility also. The possibility of cross fertilization between philosophy and psychology are wonderful. Exactly. Philosophy and psychology, they work intertwined, like hand in hand. So that is that for that. Okay, let's quickly take this. It is important for you to know that there are many ways in which meaningful life changes can occur through education, one from which is the discussion of philosophical issues. Now, Gerard Achembach is believed to be the first to revive the profession of philosophical counseling in 1981. Let's take that down. In 1981, Gerard, Gerard, Gerard Achenbach. Gerard Achenbach. Achenbach is spelled Achenbach. Gerard Achenbach. Let me increase this a bit. Is believed to be the first to revive the profession. Gerard Achenbach, 1981, is believed to be the first to revive the profession of psychological counseling. He founded as I was saying, that he founded a suicide prevention organization called Samaritan. Awesome. Now, if you are asked who founded a suicide prevention organization, Gerard Achenbach did. Gerard Achenbach founded a suicide prevention organization called what? The Samaritan. This movie this guy did, because he's a very popular actor. I think he is one of the head actor in the movie called The Expendable. I think Rambo. Rambo. I think, yeah. You must have watched the movie Rambo then. In I think that was in 2005 thereabouts. So I think he did this movie called The Good Samaritan. So it reminds me of what Gerard Achenbach has done. He founded the suicide prevention. I mean, probably in those days, the level of mortality rates is high. So for somebody to have think of this initiative and introduce, somebody is with us now. Okay, please do well to introduce yourself as you join. You came a bit late, but at least you are here already. Do well to introduce yourself as you join us. So we have that as that. In his work, Achenbach believed that the counter between the philosopher and the client was of the paramount importance, and that the aim was not healing but arriving at a satisfactory self-explanation and clarification. Okay, we're talking about the philosophical counseling. Counseling in the sense that you get to meet somebody you can talk to, somebody you can open up to, and you are being advised and you are being advised and guided. So that is that for that. All thanks to get Gerard. If it was Gerard, I think it would have been double R or so. Maybe it would be Gerard, but I think the spelling is Gerad. Um, we have that as that. Now, change. Okay, I think we've gone through that. You must remember that philosophical practice has been a worldwide movement that is starting to flourish in Germany. Philosophical practice, that is a worldwide movement. Philosophical practice, worldwide movement that is starting to flourish in Germany, the Netherlands, the USA, Canada, Britain, France, Israel, and South Africa. It is to be noted that each of these countries now has its own certification organization. Also, police psychology. I think this should also be under forensic. Must we must of course add police psychology, as this is the subject matter of another unit in this course. Okay, awesome. Now it's said here, psychology might be useful in the training of police recruits in everyday policing. Awesome. So we have a conclusion. In this unit, you have learned the branches of psychology. Exactly. You have therefore, could it mean that all what we were talking about are the branches of psychology? The philosophical counseling, feminist psychology, we have psychology of politics, we have community psychology, psychology of law, cardiac psychology, occupational health psychology, clinical psychology, and social psychology, and so much more. So all these are actually the branches of psychology. We have the police psychology too as well. Feminist is forensic and the likes. So we can now say that there is no discipline that has no psychological perspective. Definitely, because definitely every day of our life we need to interact with human beings, we interact with each other. So that is that for that. Okay. We have that for that. So we have the summary. What you have learned in this unit concerns the specialities in branches and specialities. You also learned occupational health, forensic. Okay, you said that in itself keep you learn. Okay, so we have that as that. We have the third mark. Two things the educational psychologist will do are definitely this educational psychologist actually to help both children and adults to understand, to aid learning process, and definitely aid learning process. You can say to aid learning process and to help them understand how to learn first. So they are social psychology, or how to improve their learning abilities. Social psychology will be interested in the study of two areas. Definitely, social psychology has to do with the influence of social settings, how it affects our behavior, like social infrastructure, social settings, anything that including study of two areas. Okay, the family is one of the social setting. Definitely, family background, how the background of the family affects an individual. If that has to be the social setting, psychologists will definitely be an area you can get a research from. Occupational health psychology concerns the application of psychology to the work environment and how to help personnel get better at work and work environment. Actually, we have described clinical psychology. Clinical has to do with help with people with mental issues and illnesses. Or the forensic psychology. Forensic psychology has to do with psychology, the implementation of psychology in crime and legal system. So we have that as that. I think we are good with that. So we have unit 5. Could unit 5 be the last unit of module 1? I think that might be true. Check that quickly. Oh yes, Unit 5 ends Module 1. So I think is what we can take. Let me see. I think we can take that very quickly. So let's go through Unit 5 and we know we are done with Module 1, and the next class will be going straight to Module 2. Okay, let's see. Now, Unit 5, how psychologists develop and test their theories. Introduction, objective, main content, awareness of the problem. Now we have location of definition of problem, collection of data, formation of hypothesis, testing of hypothesis. Okay, this chapter is actually, this unit is actually very loaded. So I wouldn't want us to just take it like this. I want us to take it very detailed. It's a unit that requires some kind of detailed explanation, which I wouldn't want us to do just now. But we'll just go into it briefly. In our next class, we'll discuss this in detail. So we have introduction. Okay, now in previous unit, we've discussed about the branches and the specialities in psychology. Now, this unit now also serves to introduce us to other courses, explain what we call mental psychology, social psychology, occupational. Those are our previous units, what we have spoke about. Now, in this unit now, it's quite interesting and to be a useful one. We're going to talk about how all these specialities, how they develop and implement their theories, how they develop and test their theories. We'll also consider scientific methods as well. So now with this being said, okay, let's see the main content now. The main content, we have awareness in the scientific method. When we say scientific, anything scientific has to do with systematic way of doing things. Systematic approach of doing something is called anything scientific. So we have the first stage is that a problem is felt. Now, the first stage of what? Identify the steps involved in scientific method. The first stage in a scientific method is called the awareness stage. And this stage is where you figure out that there's a problem. This first stage, the first stage is that a problem is felt. When a man encounters a problem which puzzles him and he apparently has no answer for, so people go into research. That's how research starts. I mean, at least it's somebody that discovered the drug for malaria, the cure for malaria, and a lot of illnesses. I mean, it's somebody that discovered the cure for darkness, which is light, electricity. Definitely it was somebody who discovered this, and this person wouldn't have discovered this if they haven't felt there was a problem. It was somebody that just sat down and said, why can't we do something that can take us from one place to another, or to one place to the other without stressing? So they did vehicle, they did car. Over time, people feel, okay, let's do something that can take us overseas, transport us, overseas. I mean, an aircraft was discovered. So we have that as the awareness stage, which is the first stage in the scientific method. We have the second stage, which is location and definition of the problem. So we have the problem as encountered by men may be so diffused or overwhelming that he cannot specify it. He then tries to find specifically what his problem is. Let us cite an example to enhance your level of understanding. If the problem is fear, is it rare arising from pain in a particular way of the body or a strange noise of objects. Now, location and definition. Now that the problem has been identified, now that you have known that there's a problem, there is a need for a solution, then you now sit down and begin to dissect what the problem is exactly. If you can do that successfully, then you can know how to go about preferring the solution to that problem. So you have to locate when exactly is the issue boiling and how you can define what the exactly boiling issue is, and this will lead to further processes of getting the solution. So we have collections of data. This is the third stage. The first stage was identifying awareness, the awareness stage. Now they define the problem. That's the second one. The third one is called collection of data. Now this is where you begin to gather information about how you can solve the problem, information about the problem, get more information, get a comprehensive knowledge about what the problem is. So when man has defined the problem before him precisely, clearly, crystal clear, he begins to collect relevant or possible data. He begins to collect relevant information about that problem he has defined clearly. He starts to take closer observation of the parts of the now localized problem. He collects as much information as possible. Now, let us give an example. If the original fear is now localized to a strange object, man starts to find if the object is big or small, the color of the object, whether it is mobile, whether it makes a sound, if any, the time, and so on. Now that you have localized the problem, now begin to gather relevant information. How does this problem behave? How does it react? Does it come like a rushing wind? Does this problem influences its environment heavily? You begin to dissect, you begin to think out of the box, you begin to break it down into bits. All this you are actually doing, you are trying to evaluate this problem. You're trying to analyze it in the best possible way for you to understand it. You know, it is said that what you don't understand is definitely above you. But what you understand, what you know, is not above. It's not above you. So that it is. So the fourth stage now is you begin to formulate your hypothesis. Hypothesis is more of test. You begin to formulate your test. Now, on the basis of the accumulated data. Now, before you talk about running a test now, you must have identified there is a problem. You must have defined the problem clearly. Then you must have gotten enough data. Now you can now begin to formulate, which is the fourth stage. Begin to formulate your hypothesis. Now, on the basis of the accumulated data, man starts to formulate possible hypotheses. These hypotheses can be seen as educated guesses or answers on the problem. Its preliminary study of the fact has helped to those now intelligent guesses about the possible solution through this problem. At this stage, these possible solutions are tentative in the sense that they are not conclusive. They are inconclusive. Whatever guess, whatsoever approach, whatsoever attempt now, based on what he has discovered about the problem, are tentative. If he applies them and it works, then we can say conclusive. But far is just guesses, and that's what hypothesis is all about. Strategic guesses, and they are actually tentative. Now we have Hence, there are many and all cannot be the solution. Where the hypothesis is one, it is still tentative until it is proved to be correct solution, just like what I have said. In fact, some scientists at this stage label them as hunches. So if it has not been proved yet that these strategic guesses, is a solution, then it's tentative. Now, after you have given a lot of guesses, after you have given a lot of recommendations, you've attempted a lot of things, put them all together, then you now talk about testing the hypothesis. After formulate, you bring together the guess. You now begin to test the hypothesis. Now, the guesses are tested as to their solubility of the problem. All these guesses, I now begin to test them on how they can provide solution to this problem. If A and D are true, then C must be true. Oh, I think this has to do with logic now. Now we did that in our MTH 105 first class, logic, conceptual logic. So we have, for example, the strange object which caused fear is four-footed. After you've gathered enough information and you've done the guesses, mobile and makes some noise, then it is a wild animal. How come he has arrived at this guess? Because one, he has identified the problem. Two, he has defined the problem. Three, he has gathered enough data about the problem. Then four, he has formulated hypothesis about it. He has given reasonable guesses about it. Now, he's now testing the hypothesis. I believe we are following. Now, he now says, if this object cause fear is four-footed, can move from one place to the other, and makes noise when it's on arrival, then it is a wild animal. Now, if we had seen that though the fear object is four-footed but immobile, that means it cannot move, then we might conclude that it can be only another thing but an animal. That means not an animal, but it might be something else. This will mean testing another hypothesis. And this is how you keep testing hypothesis until you get the right one that will provide solution. So we have the sixth stage, which is verification of the hypothesis. Verification of the hypothesis. Now, this may mean testing the workability. Talk about the solubility in the fifth one. Now, workability or solubility of the accepted. So you keep doing this, you keep testing the hypothesis until there is now an accepted one, which will be verified from the word verification. So we have it is therefore left for the man to select the suitable and safe method which will help him confirm whether or not hypothesis will work. To find example, cause of fear is a wild animal, man may decide to attack it by hurling a stone at it, or using a club to hit it, or on the basis of his findings, you can now draw a conclusion. It has a lot to do with research work. For many of our writing projects now, this is how our project goes. This is just the stages. These are just the stages. So now, the above scientific method gives one an idea about procedures involved in psychological investigations. Exactly. However, it is important for you to note that in psychology, the steps listed do not provide the right pattern that a psychologist or even a scientist must follow. You might not really have to follow it like the arrangement, but you have to actually go through all these things. One day, one may find out that while applying the scientific method, the psychologist does not necessarily tackle one step at a time, complete that process, and then move on to the next step. For example, the scientist may formulate his hypothesis and move to the next step of testing. He discovered that one of his hypotheses works, then a shuttle or even take a second look at his definitions. See, it still revolves around the process, but we can already follow it by 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But in the final analysis, its results, when presented, will show a logical arranged sequence which parallels the scientific, exactly what I'm saying. So we have that as that. Self-assessment. So state self-assessment. 1, state what you must do before testing an hypothesis. Definitely, you have to I think testing of hypothesis is the 5th stage. So you have to first formulate. No, that's not the first thing. The first thing is the awareness. You define, you collect data, then you formulate before you now test. So that is that and that. So you have 3.7, testing ideas. Psychologists often gather information by carrying out experiments to test certain ideas. Definitely, it's good to have ideas, but they are not just good at that stage. Your ideas have to be converted and how it can help solve solutions, provide solutions to problems. So before these ideas can be generally accepted, I think before it can be generally accepted now, you understand it has to be tested. From our previous discussion, we refer to these as testing a hypothesis. Now, the hypothesis is the idea, it's the guesses, the reasonable guesses, so it has to be tested. Let us cite an example to illustrate the process. Suppose a psychologist thinks that male police officers may have better memories than female officers. The psychologist might wish to check whether this is the case and set up an experiment to test the hypothesis. The psychologist may invite a number of male and female officers to view a videotape of a crime taking place and then ask each person a series of questions exactly. So this is quite explanatory. Psychologists who feel that female and male policemen are more intelligent than female ones. That is an idea. That's an hypothesis. So if you want to test it and see if it's indeed true, then you will have to invite both gender, then let them watch a tape about a crime, you understand, a crime that happened, a crime, an event that happened, and it will ask them certain questions. Same questions, I mean. So it depends on how they now respond that he will be able to draw his conclusion. So he or she could then compare the results from the male and female officers to see whether there is any difference in how much information they could recall, and also whether a group was more accurate than the other in the details they provided, in the data they provide. So that's just that. That's just about self-assessment 3. So think about the examples cited above and decide whether it could be a good way of obtaining information about sex difference and memory. Very well, very true. Sex difference, very, very true. They are both. Yeah, it's one of the ways you can call the subject, then find out that is if the subject are actually humans. You understand? It might be different in the whereby the subject are animals and the likes. But definitely, you still have to do the research. Excuse me. Before you can draw, test your hypothesis before you can draw a conclusion. Okay. So we have that as that. So let's just continue. So we have a couple of questions might be asked about the sample, about the example studied above. First, why did the psychologist choose to test a number of male and female officers rather than just one of each. Secondly, if differences were found between two groups, how would the psychologists know whether such differences were real or whether they were due to chance? Strategic questions. The answer to the first question is that it would have been inappropriate for the psychologist to test just one male exactly and a female, and because if differences were found, psychologists would want to know that such differences were because he or she had chosen a male with a good memory. Exactly. For this reason, psychologists always try to test reasonable size sample. Very true. A reasonable size, that's why we call groups or group of people. So a reasonable size sample, you understand, from the population. So we have that as that. However, you must note that they are not necessarily talking about large number of people. Psychologists would also need to be sure that members of the same group were typical or representative of their group. Okay. Example, a particular sexiest male psychologist might attempt to prove his theory about women performing less well than men by selecting women he already knew were not very bright and men he knew were highly intelligent. That's actually bias. The sexiest psychologist may claim that he did find differences providing this theory, but his colleagues may not accept this view because of how the study was carried out. Exactly. That is that one. In comparing two groups of people and trying to find differences, the psychologist would need to be sure that members in his or her sample were representative of the group from which they were drawn. Definitely representative in the sense that a lady from a lady's group, a male from a male's group. If the average female police officer is IQ score was 10, it would be unfair if the psychologists deliberately include only people with a score well below the average in the sample. Okay, below the average. Yeah, that's true. Similarly, the psychologist would need to be sure that the comparison group of male officers obtained those who were normal or representative of the whole population of male police or male. Okay, now you're just trying to explain that it's very unfair if the psychologist choose one particular set and you know that this particular set is the candidate from this particular group is very intelligent and chose less intelligent in the other group. So you might actually get the differences, but such theories might not be accepted. So now, and just like we said, a good research has to compare reasonable size of the individual, like reasonable size of the sample, give both group chance to express themselves and chance to hear their view. So at this stage, you decide, okay. Now, psychologists would therefore want to compare a random, comparable, and representative sample. Okay, I think we said all this. You need to remember that psychologists routinely subject their results to statistical analysis. Definitely, all these things are actually statistical analysis from the fact that they've gathered enough information from the reasonable sample size of the population. Prove that differences in statistical significance allows the researcher to state with a high degree of certainty that the results are not due to chance. Exactly. It has to be statistical significance to prove that the results are not due to chance. So that's that for that. Now, that's that for that. We have similarly, if the researcher states that the difference was found to be significant at 0.0111 level, this would mean that probability that any difference found is due to chance were 1, okay, in 100. That's very true. Which is 0.1 is less than 1, so it's due to chance, meaning that this is 1 out of 100, meaning it's almost nothing. So that's that. It should be noted that It's more of rejecting this hypothesis that this 0.1 simply means that the hypothesis will be rejected because the hypothesis that the result was based on chance. Now, as you read about various psychology experiments, you often see sentences such as the results were found to be significant, and if the result is found significant at 0.05 level, that means to be accepted. But if it's less than 0.50, that means to be rejected, just like what we have in here, 0.111. So that is that for that. So we have our conclusion. In this unit, you have learned how psychologists develop and test their theories. You have therefore learned the scientific method. For example, as we discussed earlier, you must have awareness of the problem, location and definition of the problem, location of data, formulation of hypothesis, testing the hypothesis, and verification of the hypothesis as steps in scientific method. All this has been said, so you have learned. We have treated in this unit how psychologists develop and test their theories. We have also discussed that psychologists usually use a scientific method in carrying out their research. This has advantages over other types of research as it is. Allows researchers to test hypotheses in a systematic way, allows researchers to be confident about the fact that their results are not likely due to chance. Exactly, so that is that for that. We have our assignments. Assignment. Please do well to do your assignments. It's very important and helps boost your learning abilities. State 4 reasons why psychologists usually use a scientific method in carrying out their research. If a psychologist states that the research result is found to be significant at 0. What does he or she mean? It means it's acceptable. It's not acceptable, just like what I've said earlier on. The same psychology report that it is another investigation to 0.1 level. It is going to be rejected. It's unacceptable. What does this mean? So I've given us expo to this B and C. But to one, the first question, then question A, we'll have to do well to submit that in the classroom. Thank you very much, everyone. And this brings us to the end of Module 1, and it brings us to the end of this class. And in tomorrow's class, we'll be taking Module 2, which we are going to be talking about definition of intelligence, individual difference in intelligence, explaining behavior, genetics, influence, and environmental influence, applying psychology to policing, acception, perception, place and process. So thank you very much, everyone. This brings us to the end of this class. I look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's class. I want to say, let's keep up the great job. Let's keep studying. Let's keep pushing it. And I'm very hopeful that if we continue on this pace, then the sky will be our beginning. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. I look forward to seeing you in the next class. Bye-bye.